People talk down on your dreams because it reminds them that they gave up on theirs.
If you want to be successful at it, you end up working more than you initially thought you did.
Oh, I want to have my own hours, set my own schedule. It's going to be nice and easy. But then once you actually get into it, then you're just like, oh, no, it's a lot more work that goes into it. We are closing the gap on 500,000 views on YouTube. But that's not the craziest part. The craziest part is that most of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. Do us a solid, smash that subscribe button and share it with a friend.
Today we got Adriana Otero. She is the owner of Best Life Realty. I want to start off by asking you, it seems like everybody nowadays can be a realtor and they just have a realtor license. What is so lucrative about that everybody wants to do it? Or what are your thoughts on that?
So that's actually funny because it's one of the most common misconceptions about real estate. That's what leads people to get into real estate. So what you probably see online, and one of the biggest reasons people see online, is you can make this huge amounts of commission and you get to pick your own hours and make your own schedule and all this stuff, which sounds great. But what they don't tell you is you don't really get to pick your own hours. You do, but you don't. You can pick when your appointments are, but if you want to make money, you have to make appointments. You have to meet people. You have to be out marketing. So you actually probably end up working, if you want to be successful at it, you end up working more than you initially thought you did.
So what you're saying is that everything on social media isn't real then?
It's all BS. I mean, they show you the glamour shots, the biggest ones are probably selling Sunset or $1 million listing or whatever, which, if you've ever get a chance, go through, they have some articles of what they actually have to do on the back end. All of their guests that they have to do, they have to go in and they set up the appointments. They have to sign the commitments for them. A lot of times some of those clients, they show them just looking at one house and they're making an offer. But realistically, they've probably shown them 10 houses off the camera, and that's finally the one that they're agreeing on and signing on. Developers, a lot of times we're working with developers for a year or two before they even get to see any kind of sale. And that's the part that they don't show you. They show you the pretty houses. They show you the fun open houses. They don't show you, the constantly looking through the MLS to try to find the perfect comparable, the driving around, hours at a time, the less luxurious part. So everybody wants to be a realtor because of that. And they're like, oh, yeah, they look at this. They sold one house and they made, $50,000 in commission. Yeah, but how long did it take them to get that client? So that's the part that they don't show you. But that's why people want to be a realtor, because they think it's going to be easy. And a lot of times, I think there's a 70% fail rate. So most agents don't make it past the first 2 years because they go into it thinking they're only going to work a couple hours and they're going to make this amount of money. And when they come to that realization that that's not really how it works, they end up quitting and going back to a 9-to-5.
Yeah, basically being a realtor is like having your own business.
100%.
You got to treat it like that. Because that's the same thing, when people get into business, oh, I want to have my own hours, set my own schedule. It's going to be nice and easy. But then once you actually get into it, then you're just like, oh, no, it's a lot more work that goes into it.
Yeah.
These are the hours, if you have a brick and mortar business, these are the hours you're open, but then you got to be there before you open, stock up the shelves, stock up the inventory, afterwards, cleaning, doing all this stuff. And people like to think it's just all nice and easy on social media and stuff because you got a business, or people are like, oh, it must be nice to have your own thing. Yeah, it is nice. It's a lot of fucking hard work that people don't see.
Would you like to see my schedule?
Yeah, it's the behind the scenes that people don't see. And that's where I'm yes, we always say you got to work in silence to shut up the haters. But then sometimes working in silence works against you.
Yeah.
Because then people don't see you working in silence. So then once you actually break through and get to the part where people say you're successful, then they look at you and they're like, oh, it must be nice. And they don't see any of the hard work that the previous 5 years took to get to this point.
Dude, I literally, Hermosi said this. Everyone's jealous of what you got, but nobody is jealous of how you got there. He said, if you see your schedules, you have to do all these things to make this happen. Nobody wants to do that. They just want the.
Yeah, they just want the pretty paycheck at the end. They don't know that you're going to be, sometimes not seeing your family until 7, 8 o'clock at night because you have a customer that wants to meet at 7 o'clock at night because that's what time they get home from work. And then they decide they want to offer. So instead of eating dinner at the table with your family, you're at your computer writing an offer until 9 o'clock at night, which sometimes was the case when the market was really crazy. Like, you have to be like this because if your customer is missing out on that house because it's your fault, like that's you. Like, they're going to blame you for it.
Is it worth it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, it is. I think for some people, it's not, but for me, it is. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's those sleepless nights, but because I've gotten to the point where I can, make more of my own schedule, I don't have to request time off to go to my kid's baseball game or football game. If I want to take the whole weekend off because we're at a football tournament or a baseball tournament, I don't have to request the time off. I just decide I'm not going to make appointments that day, and then I can be there for my kid. Yeah, it might mean, between games I'm like answering emails or something, but to actually be able to be there and not have to, deal with the other stuff, for me, is worth it.
Hey guys, let's take a quick break from the podcast. We want to help business owners just like you stay competitive in today's marketplace. So for a limited time, we're giving you 10% off your next video project, whether it's a brand video, social media content, or ads. Just mention this podcast to get started. Let's get back to the show.
But also to get to that point, people don't see like the years before that you were missing events with your kids. You were missing like these sporting events and stuff, and people don't want to look at that. They just want to see you now and be like, oh, I want that, so I'm gonna start doing it.
Must be fucking nice. Must be nice to have that.
You
probably get that a lot, huh?
I get that so much.
Who do you get it from the most?
Oh God, everybody. Like, so I bought myself a new. Like, anytime I buy something new or something, or must be nice to do this. I'm like, yeah, it's nice.
It's usually like, it's weird. The harder I work, the more I work, the more time I put in, it's the luckier I get with it too. Mm-hmm. It's weird how it works.
Yeah, and I used to get like annoyed by it nowadays. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna worry about explaining it because people, unless a lot of times they're doing it themselves, they just don't get it. They're like, well, why can't you just like do that later? I'm like, you can, but then if I wait till later, somebody else they're gonna call somebody else. Like, that's just what happens.
It's all about like who you're taking your advice from. It's like, they're doing this, like, I want to listen to someone that's kind of been where I want to go or is over there, not someone that's over here just like, let's do this. You kind of don't want that.
And what were those same people who were saying like must be nice? What are those people that are saying that now? What were they saying back then when you were kind of going through the grind?
Nothing. See, and that's the crazy thing is, I've found like the further you get in, I guess, what some people consider successful or in your own personal growth, the smaller and smaller your circle gets. And I think I don't know, I guess it's a bad thing, but not necessarily a bad thing because, and I can't remember who said the quote, but, if you only surround yourself with, a certain circle, look at the 5 people that are around you because the 5 people around you are a reflection of where you want to be. So if you don't want to be in that spot anymore, then you need to change who you surround yourself with because people that are in that same level are going to want to keep you at that same level. And you only change when you put yourself in a different environment where you're having different conversations. Now you're not having the conversations about, the club last night or the party. You're talking about, what advancements are going on in this industry. You're talking about stock market. You're talking about different, investment options or different businesses and how they can help you. The conversation changes.
We are closing the gap on 500,000 views on YouTube. But that's not the craziest part. The craziest part is that most of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. Do us a solid. Smash that subscribe button and share it with a friend.
I think we just prioritize ourselves when you get to that point. You're like, I want this for me and my family. Like, to do that, I have to do this. And if I just lay all the people, I guess, talk shit to you and demotivate you from that, I don't think it goes
No.
And anywhere. And it's like people talk down on your dreams because it reminds them that they gave up on theirs.
Mm-hmm. In some ways, you're a reflection of their failures.
They don't like to see that.
No.
Nobody likes to see their failures.
No, they don't want to be around you or see around you because you're a constant reminder of, oh, could have done this, should have done that, didn't do it. So I don't like that you're doing it, so I'm just going to distance myself from you. Because then you're almost in a way like constantly calling them out on their stuff. Like, you could have been here, but you weren't. Like, but that's a you choice, and I'm making a different choice.
It's like the bucket of crabs. Like you have a whole bunch of crabs in a bucket, and as soon as one starts trying to climb out of the bucket, the other one just grab onto it and bring it down. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it's just people don't want you. People want you to succeed, but not more than them.
Exactly.
Ooh,
that happens a lot.
That's a good one. You like that one?
I like it. Yeah,
that's a good one.
So, how was the transition from you, like from being just an agent to like owning your own realty company? How's that?
I mean, the same but different. So, I mean, I got lucky in that when I was working for myself, I was doing a lot of my own like marketing, had my own website and stuff like that. So it was definitely a transition. But I think the hardest part is like, you know, when I was working for somebody, if there was something that came up, situation, like I could like call my boss on them and be like, hey, so-and-so is being like super difficult. Like I need you to call them and like de-escalate the situation or, you know, something. And now that I'm my own boss, I'm like, okay, well, I can't call somebody else.
You just call on that you answer the phone, you're like,
you know, it's,
deal with it, hurry up.
It's like that classic meme where you're like, we're having, you know, if you hear me talking to myself, we're having a team meeting, so just leave me alone and just keep walking, you know, meeting of the minds. But now I've had to learn to, you know, a little bit more about all the different types of situations and learned different ways to like de-escalate certain types of situation. Like if it's a difficult agent or a difficult client, you know, everything is a learning experience. So I've just had to really transition to that. And then, I mean, definitely always exploring as a business owner, different ways that, you know, technology or things that are going on in the community and ways that I could be, you know, involved and, you know, get my name out there and grow my business more.
What stuff do you use, like technology wise, like to help you in your business or elevate your business? Because there's a lot of like AI tools. There's a lot of like, we're talking about like the gimbals and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then like the other day, remember the AI staging stuff we were saying?
Oh yeah.
For like real estate that I have. And we don't do real estate photos or videos, but what stuff do you have?
I mean, I've gotten, you know, anywhere from like gimbals to my videos, to like virtual reality, like tours. So you can do like VR tours through like Matterport. So, which that came in super handy in like 2020 when everybody was shut down and they weren't even letting us do showings. So you can go in, do an actual video, not even a video walkthrough, but it's a 3D tour of the home. So when somebody walks through it, it feels like they're walking through it. So if you have somebody from, you know, Denver, from coming out of state that maybe doesn't want to make the drive, but wants to buy a house, that just makes them feel that much more comfortable. So they feel like they already got to walk through the house and they don't show up day before closing and realize, I don't want this house. Never mind. That's not what I thought it looked like. So stuff like virtual reality for, you know, things like that, you know, all sorts of, you know, social media. I've got cameras. I've got different glasses, security. I mean, God, all sorts of different things.
Do they have like the Oculuses now that you can just go outside and walk through the house?
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have some. So you can do now like you used to be able to just do interior. Now you can do like an exterior tour. There's like some stuff in like the VR world, which that's, you know, a whole other area. But I mean, there's, you know, somewhere I've heard people talking about there's like buying real estate, like virtual real estate in like some worlds, which is crazy that you wouldn't think that we would be in an era that we are, but there's people that are like legitimately buying real estate through that.
That was like a
Which
big
is
thing,
crazy.
like I think it was like right after 2020, because I listened to a lot of podcasts. They're talking a lot about that, like buying virtual land and like all this. But I feel like it kind of, maybe they're still out doing it a lot, but it kind of like died down a little bit. Like I think people just got scared with COVID, so like let me buy virtual property.
Yeah,
which I don't really understand like how it works, honestly. So
no idea.
I can't talk too much to it, but I don't know how it runs.
It was like some kind of like virtual world, basically, where they were trying to do. Were saying that people were and part of it was because of COVID. They were thinking that people were no longer gonna leave their houses to go to work or anything like that, and they were just gonna go to work in like the virtual world like that. I can't remember what that game was. Gamer might have been. But
Pretty much just sit at home. And
they just stayed at home.
You go to work, but you're just there.
So they were trying to get like prime real estate in those areas that businesses could then go into that portal and sell people stuff, which is really weird.
It's weird, but I think it'll eventually come back and become a lot of a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
Digitally, what's the best thing that you think has worked for you? Because you're on all platforms and stuff.
I am.
So which ones work the best for you?
Oh, God. I mean, I think really Facebook has probably been, just because it was like the most popular one, and it continues to be, I think, the one that has the most users. But lately I've had a lot more from like TikTok, which I know a lot of people don't like TikTok.
Because you're yelling at people. Well, you're yelling at the refs. That's why. Your video. That's why.
You saw that one.
Yes, of course.
What's funny is that's like, out of all the videos that I did, that one had the most views. And I thought about it afterwards. I was like, well, I could go back and like just, re-record it and re-edit it. And oh no, like I said the wrong word. But at the same time, I was like, that almost makes me more real, because nobody wants, to talk to the person that's perfect. So yeah, afterwards I was just laughing about it. I was like, you know what, whatever. 500,000 people saw me say the wrong one. Whatever, it is what it is. We're just gonna deal with it.
And that's a part of your brand.
It is.
And that's one thing like we talk here on the show about a lot is like your business brand or your personal brand. I'm curious to see like which one, in your experience, like which one's been more effective.
I think if you do a good job, your personal brand is the same thing as your business brand. Because a lot of times if people know you, they know you, but they also know who you work for. So you're an extension, like your personal brand is an extension of your business brand. Like when people see me, a lot of times they might not know I own Best Life Realty, but they know me. Or vice versa, they'll say, oh, yeah, we saw that Best Life Realty sponsored such and such event. And then after they meet me and I tell them, oh, yeah, that's mine, they kind of tie the two together. So sometimes people will call me because of my name of my business, and sometimes they'll call me because it's me. And they don't care which company I'm working for, they just want to work with me.
Which I think that's why it's so important for people to do the personal brand, because for that, like say, especially like realtors, or if you do insurance, whatever industry pretty much you're in, if you don't own your own business, but if you do switch companies, like people still want to keep buying from you. And even if you do have like the personal brand, if you start this business and then you have that business and then you're doing this, people kind of want to keep going to those places because of you, not because the other way around. They're like, oh, Adriana went there. Oh, she does. She's doing this now. Okay, I don't know if it's good, but let me check it out. Yeah. Whatever it is,
because you've already built that trust, that relationship with them. Yeah. So regardless of what they're doing, they're like, oh yeah, I know you have that familiarity with people.
How often do you do like training? I guess would you say like personal development stuff for you?
Every day, like my favorite quote that I ever heard. You probably heard it. It's called Ancora Imparo. It's Latin for always learning. So like literally every day I'm like looking at, different ways that people are doing videos, or, looking at different microphones or cameras that people are using, or, different meditation techniques. I'm a big meditator and a big journaler. So, I'm always looking for, different books on personal development. I probably have a small library full of all different types, looking for something different to, challenge me, both business and personal, because I think you need that challenge. My husband's always saying, like, his favorite quote is, if you're not growing, you're dying. You always want to grow because you can always be better.
That's a good one. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm just on YouTube for pretty much everything. My top ones is probably Andy Frisella.
Okay.
You've heard of him?
Yep. Did the 75 hard? Have you done it?
Yeah. I mean, I've tried it.
You gotta do it again.
No,
did you finish it?
I've done it. Like, the first time I did it, I did it all the way.
Okay.
And then I've tried like 2 other times after that, and
it didn't work out.
You get close, but it's not, because then the more you do it, the more you're like, okay, like at the beginning I would count this as like it being a part of my diet, being safe, but then 20 days later you're like, no, that's cheat meal. Yeah. So you kind of go back, like I technically cheated, so you kind of have to start back over. I mean, you're holding yourself accountable for that.
It's and that's, I think, the hardest thing for most people is holding ourselves accountable. Like, it's easy to hold somebody else accountable, but not as easy to hold yourself, because you're like, oh, nobody's gonna see like that I snuck away this like chocolate. It's fine. Mm-hmm. But then, like,
nobody's gonna know. Nobody knows, but you know.
But you know.
Yeah. How's your experience with that?
It was harder than I thought it was gonna be. Like, I went into it a little cocky, I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, no, I've been working out. This is fine. This is totally fine. And then, like, a week or two, and I was like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Why did I say I was gonna do this? And I kind of almost built like a little bit of an accountability for myself, because I told my kids and my husband that I was going to do it. So, like, I know my kids they're going to hold me accountable for sure. They're like, well, Mom, did you go do your workout yet today? No, I didn't. I have to go do it right now. So they, in like some ways, were like my little accountability persons. They were like, well, did you do this yet, Mom? Yeah, well, I'm going to go with you on your walk for you to do this or do that. So they actually helped me a lot, because they kind of kept me accountable. And we're like, well, Mom, so if we go over here, like, what are you going to eat? Because you're not supposed to be eating this and this, right? Like, yeah, I'm not supposed to. So then, like, what are you going to eat? I'm like, well, I have to eat before we go, because I don't get to enjoy any of the fun stuff that you guys are going to eat. Oh, okay. And then they would sit there and eat, like a piece of pizza, or, Mom, are you sure you don't want some candy? Yes, I am sure I don't want candy. But they would eat it in front of me.
How important is it, though, to have that, like, circle of people that are, like, it's the little stuff like that you think about it, but they're holding you accountable, like, whether it's, like, in life, in business, or whatever, that aren't just going to let you just fuck off.
Oh, it makes a difference. I mean, not gonna lie, some days I'm like, why did I tell you? Like, I could have just had that piece of cake and you would have never known. But at the same time, I probably would have failed. Like, yeah, I would have lied to myself, but I would have realistically failed if it wasn't for that. So that definitely helped a lot.
What do you think sets you apart in business? Because everybody has access to all these podcasts, to all these books, to the training, workouts, and everything. What sets you apart?
That I actually put in the work and do it. I think I've seen and had conversations with a lot of other people, and they're like, oh yeah, I really want to, post more on my social media. But then they don't. Or, yeah, I really want to look into doing this. And I like to tell people. So I'll tell them, oh, yeah, this is where I get my website. This is what I do this. This is what I do that. Oh. Well, thanks. And then, like, I'll check their page to, like, see if they said, because, I'll go in and like their stuff. Nothing. Like, well, it's the famous saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah.
And I have so many people, they're like, well, how can you do this? How can you do that? I'm like, well, I make the time to do it. And so many other people just don't. I mean, for whatever reason. I mean, sometimes people, I personally think if you want to find an excuse, you're going to find one. Same thing happens with, working out, right? 75 hard. That's part of one of the aspects of it. You have to make the time for the things that are important to you. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things is I make the time to do it, because to me, that's what's important. And I'm a big believer in you make time for what's important to you. So if I want to do it, I'm going to make the effort and constantly be looking into that. And I think not everybody's willing to do the same thing.
It's easy for people to be like agreeable when they're in person, because like they don't want to seem like they're slacking on their stuff or anything. Like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna get better too. So you agree with the other person, or you give them the tips and they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take it home and I'm gonna do it, but then they don't do it.
No,
because they never really wanted to in the first place. They just wanted to feel like they were getting better.
Yeah. I mean, I've offered to help people like record videos, because I mean, you probably saw I do a lot of video stuff, and people are like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, you just do it. Like,
if you really want to do it,
if you really want to do it, you just do it. And they're like, well, but yours are good. I'm like, yeah, but I've been doing videos for like 11 years. If I were to show you some of the videos I recorded 10 years ago, they were crap. Like, they were grainy. I'm like sitting there, reading off of a piece of paper, recording it 10 times before I posted it. But I've put in the time to try to, make the videos better.
How much time do you record a video like now? What do you say? Before you post it up?
Now I've gotten to the point where I can, most of the time, just click on the camera, hit record, and most of the time post it right away. And just do a little bit of it. But it's taken me a really long time to get here. Like, before I literally would record it like 10 times. I'm like, no, that's still not right. But I've found that what I was doing before was very like, and I think part of it was because I was trying to be very inauthentic and very scripted and very, I have to say this way. And the less I've gotten scripted and more I'm like, no, I'm just going to talk, like, and just talk like if I was, like we're talking right now. And that's more genuine and it works out better.
Yeah, it goes back to like your personal branding. Like, that's just who you are. Why are you trying to hide who you are from everybody else?
Yeah, I want people to, if they see a video, feel like they're literally just talking to me. Like, not feel like, oh my gosh, like, I can't talk to her. Like, she talks this way. Like, how am I going to say it? I'm like, no, just talk to me like you would if you saw me on the street. Like, what you see in the video is exactly what you're going to see in person.
Yeah, you're not gonna catfish them. They're like, oh, it's this, and then you show up and you're like, what happened? Because that happens a lot. With people. In your experience for business, what has what marketing problems have you encountered?
What do you mean marketing problems?
Just like you getting your name and brand out there. What has been like the biggest struggles that you've had?
Oh God. The biggest struggle is probably finding...
Because marketing is in a lot of different ways. There's digital marketing, and I think you need to do every marketing, all types of marketing.
Word of mouth, paper marketing. And
yeah. I mean, you have to do all sorts of marketing. And I think initially I thought, oh, well, we'll just do like this type of marketing. But I think to really be successful, you have to do all sorts of marketing. I mean, whether that is print advertising and, newspaper or postcards, or whether you're doing on Facebook, radio ads, you honestly have to be just about everywhere, because you never know where your next customer's going to come from. I mean, somebody could, I've done things where I'm like sponsorship and I get nothing from it, and I've gotten some where people will hold on to a postcard that I sent them 4 years ago, and they held on to it, and that's what made them call me. So if I hadn't sent out that postcard and gone to just, I'm just going to do digital marketing, that person would have never even known about me. And I think that's the best way that's my biggest struggle, is just trying to, I guess in a way, not spread myself too thin, but try to make sure that I'm everywhere. But that's sometimes kind of hard because I'm a one-woman show. So sometimes it's hard to be everywhere, but to be successful, you actually do have to be everywhere almost.
And when you first started out, did you think you were just going to, pretty much like the SpongeBob meme, where he like opens up his lemonade stand, flips his open sign, and expects everybody to rush in?
So when I went out on my own,
Yeah.
no. So when I first started real estate, that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought I'm just going to go into real estate and I'm just going to walk into the office and people are just going to, the phone's just going to ring and they're going to come into the office and say, oh, yes, we want to buy a house from you. And I came to the very rude awakening that that's not at all how it works. So a couple months, probably the first month into it, I started when the phone wasn't ringing and nobody was calling to talk to me or to have me sell them a house. At the time, my broker had these Bronco schedules. And I went and got some, plastic door hangers.
That's why they weren't showing up, because you had the Broncos. That's why they weren't coming. Now we found out.
That's how I got my first customer, though. I sat down and I wrote this, letter of, I'm so-and-so, introducing myself. And I did the old school thing and I put a Bronco schedule in one of my letters and went through expired listings and, went door to door and put them on people's doors. And that's how I got my first listing. Somebody, called me after they oh yeah, I got your letter. And then I was wait, somebody actually called me from that. I was not expecting that. But, to this day, I will still, do door-to-door marketing. I'll send stuff out to, both expireds to, you name it. But at the beginning, I didn't think I was going to have to do that. I thought I'm just going to, show up and people are going to come in, and that was not at all how it was. You have to actually go out and look for your customers. They're not, gone are the days where people would really walk into a real estate office to, ask you for your business. It comes far and few between, but most of the time they don't do that anymore.
Where'd you get that grind and hustle from? Is it Hispanics are known for that grind and hustle. Where did that come from for you?
Oh God. I've kind of always been that way. I don't like failing. That's my biggest thing. I don't like failing. I don't like not being good at something. So if I do something, I'm gonna give it every effort before I completely call it quits. So sometimes that was, I need to pay my bills. I have to, do this. So if that means I'm going to go and door knocking on 50 different houses, then before I get a client, then that's what it's going to do. I'm going to call 10 people or, go here or, sometimes nowadays it's driving an hour for a listing. That's what it's going to take.
Did you see someone when you were young? Was there someone that you saw that you kind of got that from? Because I don't think people are just
no
born with it.
I think it's 50%. You're born with it, and 50%, the example that you see. Because, I've had a couple different influences. So my mom was a very hard worker. She, would go and she went and got her college education and then would work in nursing homes. And I would see her a lot of times if, as kids we're going to have something coming up where, graduation's coming up or they're going to need this, she would pull an extra shift, work an extra shift or work longer hours to make sure that she, would get that overtime pay so we could buy that stuff. So I think that's where I got a lot of my, work ethic from. But I also think that you can be in a household and have that same example and have the opposite. You could have two kids that are raised in the exact same household with the exact same examples. And the one I always use is alcoholics. People always say, there's two kids, both grew up with an alcoholic. One decided that they were, why were you an alcoholic? Because I saw my dad do it. And the other one might say, I've never drank a day in my life. Well, why not? Because my dad was an alcoholic. So it all depends on, 50% of the person and how they choose to see that example. Some might say, well, yeah, your mom worked those many hours, so that's a great example, and that's why you have that work ethic. Or another person might say, well, that's why I'm not going to work that hard, because I saw the struggle, and I saw because of that my mom would, a lot of times miss games, miss family time, and some might have the opinion, well, then that's why you shouldn't work that hard, because you don't want to miss that stuff. But as parents, you want to have a better life for your kids, and you want to set a better example. And that's the example I want to set for my kids of, you want something, work hard for it. And it'll happen no matter how much the cards are stacked against you.
That's awesome. That was a perfect way to end it. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here. You guys, if you're needing any real estate stuff, make sure to check on all platforms, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Everywhere.
much, if there's one out there that I don't have yet, I haven't found it. But you can find me on just about every social media platform there is out there.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you.
Underrated, we the underdogs,